Let's get to 20 through 17.
Okay, so 20 is where I had Jimmy Garoppolo, so one spot difference there. 19, I have Baker Mayfield. 18 is Daniel Jones. 17 is Josh Allen. So checking off the final two New York quarterbacks there at 17 and 18.
Okay, Josh Allen, and I'm running out of space in the scroller, so we'll see how that goes. All right, so break this down. So you have Garoppolo. That makes sense to me. Daniel Jones. I think Josh Allen is someone people would have higher. So do you want to talk about why you have him in 17?
Yeah, so I liked what I saw out of Allen last year. You definitely saw a ton of growth. His mobility is certainly improving, and his arm strength, he has a cannon of an arm. But for me, there's just still a few things that I want ironed out before I christen him a top 15 quarterback. I want him to be able to. One thing sticks out in my head, and that's the game against the Texans in the playoffs. I think that's really what's holding me back there. I feel like the Bills should have won that. And I feel like Josh Allen just couldn't quite get the job done. I want him to be able to show more of an ability to win in key situations. He was off to a great start with that last year. This is going to be a big year because expectations are high for the Bills. And the other thing is I just want his completion percentage to go over 60. He made a 6-point jump last year from his rookie year, so that's huge. But in essence, I think he's still a little bit raw. But I think this year is the year he's going to make the big leap. And, I could look. By the end of this year, I could look stupid for having him at 17. And people may say oh, yeah, how did you not see him becoming a top 10 talent? So I think he could easily be higher than I have him, but I'm just kind of tempering expectations a little bit so I don't heap on too much to him, even though he probably doesn't care what I think.
Yeah, right. I bet I would say he's the opposite of Bridgewater, right? Like he has such a high ceiling, but he's not quite there yet. But I think that with another year of experience, like when he entered the NFL, I was like, this guy's going to take in his third year. I think is really going to take off, and he kind of developed. I thought quicker than I thought last year. Like I know that he still made mistakes. He did not come through in the clutch, like you said, in that playoff game. But I didn't think the Bills would be there in the playoffs last year. I thought that Allen was still going to go through growing pains last year. I guess to a somewhat of an extent he did, but he did play better than I thought. And now you add Stephon Diggs to that offense. I think he could really make a big leap this year. Won't surprise me if people see him as a top 10 quarterback after the season. I just think he just has amazing upside. So that's why I have Josh Allen higher. My 20 through 17 is 20 Baker Mayfield, so kind of the same. 19 Dak Prescott, which is going to anger a lot of people. 18 Teddy Bridgewater, so a little bit higher than you, and then 17 Daniel Jones, so one spot apart. So Prescott, let's get to Dak Prescott. I'm kind of curious to hear where you have him, so you can talk about that later. But I think that whenever this guy has he's had such a great supporting cast his entire career. Like Dallas's offensive line has been ranked near the top unless they've had injuries, near the top. He's had Ezekiel Elliott. He's had Amari Cooper. He's had Michael Gallup. Like Jason Witten came back. Just a great supporting cast the whole time. Whenever Dallas has missed players, whether it's Cooper or a couple of offensive linemen, that offense just does not look good. And Dak Prescott just doesn't. He just really regresses. And I think that it's kind of like if you put most quarterbacks in that situation, like if you put like Kirk Cousins in that offense, I think he could post similar numbers. If you put Jared Goff in that offense, actually, we've seen him post those numbers with the Rams back when they had a good offensive line. I think Prescott is, the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's terrible. I have him 19, so I think he's a slightly below average quarterback. But I do think he's overrated. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts about him.
Yeah, I definitely think he's overrated. I have him a little bit higher than you, but again, it's not like a massive difference here. I still think he's top. I think he's slightly above average guy, so that kind of spoils a little bit where he'll land for me. But yeah, the points you make are totally right. We've seen him without offensive linemen playing, getting sacked 6 times in a game by Adrian Claiborne, and he's had all these great receivers catching passes from him. So I think if you took him and put him on a team with less talent, you'd have to wonder just how good he would end up being. And I think the answer is maybe a little bit above average. Maybe he would have learned to play without talent around him a little bit better. I do think that has to play a part in it. Also, he has been victim of awful coaching under Jason Garrett, at times during his career. So, that staff developed him, but they also didn't do him any favors in terms of, coaching him in certain areas. So I think that's hurt him. But I don't have a problem with him falling, just inside the top 20. I know a lot of other people will be like, oh, he's a top 10 quarterback. Oh, he's elite. Oh, he's better than Carson Wentz. But no, none of that is true. I don't think that's the case. I do say having Daniel Jones above him at this point, I think, is premature. I love Daniel Jones as much as the next guy, but we haven't seen what Jones is going to do in his second year. But again, you're projecting what they're going to do this year, and Prescott could regress a bit, and we both expect Jones to make a big leap. So I'm kind of nitpicking you there, and also like backing off on what I'm saying. So this is a terrible argument I'm making.
It's funny. I think if you put Daniel Jones in Dallas's offense and you put Dak Prescott on the Giants now that they don't have Nate Solder, I do think the Giants have a lot of talent, so maybe I shouldn't say that. Like, I think that Daniel Jones will have a very good second season in that offense. And unfortunately, Solder's out. But if you like you said, if you put Prescott on a bad offensive team, I think he really struggles. Whereas like we saw Daniel Jones last year play on a team that had kind of a pedestrian offensive line. Saquon Barkley was not himself for most of the year. He had his top receiver, Darius Slayton, was a rookie. He was missing a lot of receivers for most of the year, like Sterling Shepard, Golden Tate. They were in and out of the lineup. Evan Ingram barely played. And Daniel Jones still had some nice moments. Like he did have some stinkers for sure, but he was a rookie, and I think he's going to be a lot better. So I think if you put Daniel Jones with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and Ezekiel Elliott and that offensive line, like I would think he would have a monster second year. In fact, I would say Dallas would have a good chance to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you make a compelling argument. And again, like I said, I was already backing off on my argument in my head, and now I'm like fully convinced that Daniel Jones, I think ceiling for sure is higher than Prescott. The one thing that concerns me and why I ranked him lower than Prescott right now, one thing Prescott is good at is he doesn't turn the ball over very often. He takes a lot of sacks, but he just doesn't turn it over. Jones turned it over a lot last year, but like our good friend, the Fantasy Football Show says here, Danny Dimes is going to flirt with top 6 to 7 QB numbers this year. I completely agree with that. He's a guy I'm targeting all day, every day in fantasy. And I have a bet on him to win MVP too. So I guess I'm a huge Daniel Jones fan. So I don't even know why I asked you why you had him in front of Dak Prescott. Like, there's no reason I needed to do that.
I have, as I've said before, the Giants at 140-1 to win the Super Bowl. I believe they're still there at Bookmaker, as they were there a couple weeks ago. So I don't know if that's changed. And yeah, I agree with the Fantasy Football Show. Follow him, by the way, on YouTube. He produces some great content. I don't know if there's anything else to discuss in the 17 to 20 range. Like we both had Mayfield. We both had Jones over Mayfield, which I thought was funny. Like Mayfield would, I feel like last year if we did this, it would have been a lot higher. Do you have any confidence that Mayfield could turn his career around?
I do. I think he should be better with better protection on the edges. But I think his rookie year, he got helped a lot by Ken Zampese, the quarterback's coach, is now in Washington, which is another reason I think Dwayne Haskins will improve this year. I think losing him hurt Mayfield last year, and just having pressure off the edges, I think rattled him. But with Jack Conklin there right now? I think they signed him and drafted Jedrick Wills. So I think that that should help him be much better because they already have a bunch of good offensive weapons. So, but still, I'm not going to put him as above average just yet because last year he looked like he was playing scared.
Yeah, we had a question if this is Darnold's last chance to prove himself. I think he has 2 years. Unless he's absolutely atrocious this year. Like Trubisky's still in Chicago and he has a chance to win the starting job. So like Darnold's going to have 2 more years. He's cheap. He's on a cheap contract. So they have no reason to get rid of him.